here. Um, they've given you the line, so there will be some questions where I've already given you the graph, and then just like on the game, you have to determine the solution. Okay, so I don't know if you recognize line 1 here, they say right here, and line 2, which is down here, are basically showing the same line. So which answer choice would be our answer here? Yeah, infinite many solutions. If you want to just use a symbol, you can on the test. What type of system is this? Is it consistent, inconsistent, dependent, or independent? Look at your flip book. The very first page is your types of solution. So if it's one line, yeah, it is a inconsistent. So I'm just going to start this. Inconsistent, dependent. Because the two lines depend on each other for your solution because they're exactly on top of each other. All right, so for something like this, they're giving you the two lines. Here's line 1. Line 1 is the line that with the negative slope. It's this, sorry. It's this line decreasing. Right there, they say line 1. And line 2 has a positive slope. So, does this system have a solution? Yeah, because anytime I have an intersection, it will have a solution. So the answer here, what would be the order pair? What is the solution here? -1, -1. Yeah, -1, -1. So like the graphs will be given to you. You have, oh, sorry. Yeah, +1. Oops. Oh. +1, -1. Okay, now for this example, you have two lines. Here's line 2. There's line 1. Yeah, the system has no solutions. Anytime you have parallel lines or any lines that do not intersect, will be no solution. So know your types, okay? I forgot to talk about this one. If it intersects, what type is this? Consistent or inconsistent? Yeah, it's consistent. And is it independent or independent? Independent. Yeah. And then if it's parallel, inconsistent, yeah. Okay. All right, so I will ask you to graph by solving, okay? In order to graph, we have to have the y isolated or slope-intercept form. I'm gonna make this my line 1. So you start with the B first, which means we go on the y-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4, plot that point. Then we use the slope. Second, what is the slope of this line?
4/1.
Yeah, the slope. So the B is 4, the M is 1/1. So that means you're gonna go up 1 to the right 1, up 1 to the right 1. That's all I can go. Otherwise, I go off the graph. So I could also go down 1 to the left 1. We need to show a line with a slope of 1 and a y-intercept of 4. All right, so the second equation, this will be my line 2. Here, the B is -2. So that means we start on the y-axis at a -2. And the slope here is -1. So it's like a -1/1. So that means we're going down 1 and then to the right 1. We want to see where these two lines intersect. So I'm actually going to go this way, up 1 to the left 1, so I can see where that intersection would occur. And hopefully you can see right here is the solution. So they say the solution is, we got to just fill in the blank. This would be -3, +1. So negative 3 comma 1. Any questions? Okay. Now, if it's not in slope intercept form, like on here, line 2 is fine, but line 1, to graph it, you have to solve for y. So that means you have to subtract the x first, isolate the y term. So minus x. This becomes negative y equals negative x plus 5. But can we keep that y negative? So what are we going to need to do? Yeah, divide by negative 1. Everything gets divided by negative 1. So I'm going to write it down here. My line 2, or my line 1, excuse me. Y equals positive x minus 5. So now you have two lines you can graph and see if they have a solution, see if they intersect, which they should, okay? So you're going to have a couple of graphing. On here, when I do my line 2, we start at 3, 1, 2, 3. The slope is this negative 3, so I can't count up 3. I'm going to have to count down 3, 1, 2, 3 to the right one. And then we have a line through those points. So there is my line 2, the line 1, the one we just graphed or just solved right here. Oops. Y equals x minus 5. That means we start at a negative 5 on the y-axis, and then a slope of 1. And then we see the intersection right there. And so we can see the solution. All right, so you're going to be asked to graph a couple. Number 6, some more graphing. On here, I just want to remind you, if you have just, because this would divide by 4, what if you have the equation x equals negative 2? Do you know what line that is? Because if you go on the x-axis to negative 2, which is right there, what type of line would you have to draw through that point? Yep, it is vertical. So anything that's x equals a number, an x coordinate, is a vertical line. On the first equation, you're going to have to solve this for y. Okay. So, yes. After graphing, solving by graphing, we're going to actually do substitution. This is when you have to have one of the variables is isolated. Okay. So the key for substitution, we got to get one of the variables isolate. On 7, the y is already isolated, so I'm going to take this 3x, 3/2 x, and plug it into the y in the equation above. So when I do that, we would have 2x minus, and then parentheses, and inside the parentheses would be the 3/2 x. And it's going to equal to a negative 1. So if you want to change it to a decimal, you can, but this you can do in the calculator because we're doing 2x minus 3/2 x. So that's really kind of like looking at the coefficients, 2 minus 3.5. So if I go to my calculator, I got to put mine up. You could use the alpha y equals button to do your fraction. It'll give you the fraction answer. Like if I'm doing my operation, so it's 2 minus, and then alpha y equals 3 on the top, 2 on the bottom, arrow to the right, enter. We get 1/2. Okay, so the calculator would do the simplifying of the fraction for you. So if this is, right here, 1/2 x equals negative 1, how do I get rid of that 1/2? You can either divide by 1/2 or, yeah, you can multiply by 2 by the reciprocal. So your x is going to equal negative 2. So there's one of our values. X equals -2. I just need to put that answer that we got back into what I circled to solve for y. Because this is y equals 3/2 x. So 3/2 times a -2. We can put that in the calculator as well. Just say 3/2 times a -2. We should get -3. So our solution is the order pair -2, -3. So for a problem like 8, you have to pick which variable is the easier one to isolate. So which variable should we isolate to do substitution?
On B, we could isolate X.
Yeah, I would isolate the x right here. So all I would have to do to isolate this x is add the y. Now my x equals y minus 3. Now all I have to do is take that and plug it into x in the first equation. Anytime you plug something in, use parentheses. So 2 parentheses y minus 3. Close the parentheses, then plus 3y minus 4 equals 0. We're going to distribute the 2. So we get 2y minus 6 plus 3y minus 4 equals 0. Well, we're going to solve for y. Combine the like terms. So 2y and 3y gives you 5y. And then minus 6 and minus 4 is a -10 equals 0. So to solve y, I'm going to add the 10 on both sides and get 5y equals 10, which means y equals 2. Now that I know the y, I can plug it back into what I had circled here to get my x. X is just going to be 2 minus 3, because I plugged in the 2 for the y, which is just a -1. So the solution is -1, 2. So either the variable will already be isolated, or you're going to pick which variable to isolate, and then you are going to solve using substitution. Okay, so after substitution, okay, I'm going to have you do elimination or solve by elimination. So this is when you have to determine, they should be lined up. Your x's should be stacked, should be in standard form, and then we want to determine which variable to eliminate. Okay, either because we see opposites or we can multiply to create an opposite. All right, so on 11, which variable should we try to eliminate? The x. Okay, this top x right here needs to be an opposite of 6x. So what is that we're going to require? Yeah, we're going to multiply by -6. Okay, I'm just going to write it underneath here. So there'll be -6x minus 18y equals -66. Then now I can add and eliminate the x's. I'm adding this -5y to this -18y. It's going to give me a -23y. And I have a 20 and a -66. That's going to leave me with a -46. Then to solve for y, we just need to divide by that -23. So your y is actually going to equal a +2. Are we done? No, what do we need to do now? Yeah, plug it back in. Does it matter which one I plug it back into? No, sorry. I know. Top one or first one or second one? Yeah, I would do the top one. That one's easier. So this would be x plus 3 times 2 equals 11. which is really saying 6x plus 6 equals 11. What number plus 6 gives me 11? 5. So our answer is 5, comma 2. If you wanted to, I just did mental, but you could just say minus 6, minus 6. What's 11 minus 6? It's 5. Okay. So like a problem like 12, which variable should we try to eliminate here? The y, yeah. This is a 9y. All I have to do is multiply the bottom by a negative 9 to get a negative 9y. So this, when I multiply everything by a negative 9, we get negative 36x minus 9y, and the negative times the negative makes that positive 45. We can add now and eliminate the y's. 37 minus 36x is going to give you a negative, what is it, 29x. And then we got negative 74 plus 45. Oops, sorry. That's going to give us a negative 29. So if I divide by negative 29, what's our x? Yeah, just positive 1. So now that I have the x, I can plug it back in. Which one do you want to plug it back into, top or bottom? Yeah, I would do the bottom. Because this will say 4 times 1. That's a 1, sorry. 4 times 1 plus y equals negative 5. Well, that's just saying 4 plus y equals negative 5. Well, to get the y by itself, you just have to subtract the 4. And when I do that, my y is going to be negative 9. So the first 3 here, you're just multiplying one of the equations to get an opposite. Now, when you do 14 through 16, we have to multiply 2 equations. Well, not on 14. We will on 15. On 14, I could get an opposite with the y's if I multiply the top here by 2, because this will make that positive 6y. So this would be 14x plus 6y equals 20. Okay. And then but on 15, either I'm going to change if I do my x's, I'll just have one multiplication. But if I do my y's, I would have to multiply the top by 6 and then the bottom by negative 5. If I do the x's, then I just have to multiply the bottom by negative 11. So the key is to figure out which variable you want to isolate or eliminate. Okay, and then do the multiplication to create that variable. All right, and then like I'm only going to probably give you one of each where I say you have to use this method. You have to solve by graphing. You have to solve by substitution. You have to solve by elimination. And then I'm going to ask you pick the best method to solve. Okay. So if I was looking at 17, what do you think is the best method to solve 17?
Eliminate.
Yeah, elimination would be the best method. Okay. So I could eliminate either the x's or the y's. Which one do you want to do?
You're going to eliminate both of them.
Yeah, well, if I multiply by 2 here, this is going to be negative 6x minus 10y equals 30. Yep, and if I don't know if y'all see this, every term eliminates. So you're really going to get basically 0 equals 0.
Which is
which is true. Yep. And if it's true, are you going to have one solution, no solution, or infinite solution? Yeah, infinite solution. There we go. Okay. I know the symbols are different here. But again, elimination would be the easiest method. If you multiply the top by 2, okay, this now gives you, I'm just going to write 4u minus 6 equals negative 4, and negative 4 here, or plus, sorry, 6. Now, here, they eliminate, but not everything eliminates. What we have is 0 equals 3. Because of a negative 4 plus 7, that would leave you with 3. This is false. 0 does not equal 3. So if it's false, it would be no solution. Okay, that's a symbol for no solution. Okay, so this section on, pretty much you're just deciding what method. You have a couple multiple choice questions, picking your method you want to use. Okay, and then we're going to get into the word problems. So there's going to be 2 ways I'm going to check. One, can you pick the correct setup to solve a word problem, and then solving it. So this is like picking the correct setup. 21. All right. It says we have group adult tickets and children. It says maybe about 40 tickets. The bill was 200. If the adult tickets A were $8 and the children tickets C were $2, which system best represents the situation? Okay, so hopefully since it's A and $8, that needs to be an 8A. And if it's C for children and $2, that needs to be a 2C. Since we're talking about money, that means they equal a total of $200. That's the worth. If there was 40 tickets in all, that means adult tickets plus children tickets equals 40. Do we see which one we should be picking here? Yeah. Now, to solve this word problem, which method would be the best method?
Elimination.
Elimination. Which variable would you want to eliminate, the A's or the C's?
C's.
I would do that by multiplying by negative 2. So this is negative 2A minus 2C equals negative 80. The C's are going to eliminate. A and plus the negative 2A is going to leave me with 6A equals 120. And then all we have to do is divide by 6, and that's our number of adult tickets. Does that make sense? So there's 20 adults. If there's 20 adults in there, and I know there was a total of 40, then there would have to be 20. Oops, why isn't it writing? 20 children as well. Okay, so on a problem like 22 here, you saw the system for his homework, which is the value of x in the solution. So now you're picking which method you want to use. You can graph, you can do substitution, but you're trying to get to the answer choice here.
Can you recalculate it?
Yeah, so I'll just recap real quick. Remember, if you go to y equals, let me clear this out, and we had 14x minus 20, and then x minus 7. So if I type it in, 14x minus 20, and then come down here, enter, and then we're going to clear that. We have x minus 7, and we hit graph. If we see that intersection right there, you can maybe read it off the graph. Or you have second trace, hit 5 for intersection, and hit enter 3 times. And then you should see the word intersection at the bottom of the screen. This was at 1, -6. This question asked for, I think, only the x value. So we're just picking the x value for that. Go to your window. Let me see it. Go to your y equals real quick. Make sure that this word plot 1 right here is not highlighted. Is your plot 1 highlighted? No, hit y equals. Yeah, you see? Okay, so what you have to do is turn it off. So arrow up so that it's on plot 1 and then hit enter to turn it off. And then it should let you graph. All right, and then let's finish this up. Remember on a table, because some values of 2 linear equations are shown, what is the solution of the 2? It's when they have the same answer for y. Okay? Now, if we don't see the same answer, same y value, then we have to come up with the equation for each. So like for the table, this first table, I don't know if y'all see that it's decreasing here by 4. And then here was 2. And then here was 2 again. And then over here, this is -2. This is 1. I'm sorry, +2. 1, and then 1. So it's the change in y. This is my change in y. This number here over the change in x. This number here. So if I look at this, this is a -4. Sorry, -4 over 2, which turns into just -2. That is the slope. So if I know the slope and I know the value at 0, which is right here, look at this. That means this equation is y equals -2x plus 2. There's your slope-intercept form. So what I need to do is find this slope. It goes from -9 to -6. That's +3. That is +3 again. This is +6. And then over here, -2 to -1, that's +1, +1. So hopefully we see the slope here. It's just 3 over 1, which is just 3. And then again, I see where it is at 0. Boom. So this would be y equals 3x minus 3. So now I could put this in the calculator and this equation in the calculator and look for the intersection. Okay. All right, then another test-like multiple choice question asking you for a reasonable estimate. So I can maybe isolate this bottom one here. Oops, sorry. By just dividing everything by -2. So my y equals +2x minus 32. And now I can take what that y equals and plug it into the top equation. That would be one of your estimates or methods. And so I want you to get to a possible solution for the y. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Uh.
For the question before, it asks us for the solution to that.
So you have to type these two in the equation. You have to graph these two.
In the calculator,
Yeah.
you don't have to withdraw. Oh,
Yeah, because you're using any method. So you can use the calculator to graph it and then find the intersection. Okay. All right, and then the last page, some more word problems, and then some graphs given. So on 25 here, since they're talking about a collection of 35 quarters in dimes. That means Q for quarters plus D for dimes is a total of 35. If it's worth $4.50, quarters are worth 25 cents. So that's 0.25 Q plus 10 cents for dimes, 0.10 D equals $4.55. So now to determine how many quarters or how many we have of each coin, we can use elimination. Since they want us to find how many quarters, then I want to eliminate the dimes. Okay, so to eliminate these dimes, I need to multiply the top one by 0.10. Oh, negative 0.10, sorry. So we want them to be opposites. So this would be negative 0.10Q minus 0.10D equals negative 3.5. And then I have 0.25Q plus 0.10D equals 455. So by adding, I eliminate the dimes, and now I'm just adding up my quarters. So this will actually leave me with 0.15 quarters, and that's what, $1.05. And then divide by 0.15. All right, and so this 26 is kind of like the game where I'm giving you the two graphs. Okay, based on the graph, when will the two cars be the same distance from the city? So that's basically, to have the same distance is where they intersect. It is the intersection point. So that happens at 2 hours and a distance of 20 miles. So at 2 hours and 20 miles. So I'm just doing this order pair. That was 2, 20.
So we don't have to do anything.
No, because the graph gives me the solution. All I got to do is read the graph and see where they intersect. So since they asked when does that happen, it happens at 2 hours. And then perimeter of a rectangle. All right, so we got to remember for a perimeter of a rectangle, that is 2 lengths plus 2 widths gives you perimeter. If I know the perimeter is 95, that is the P. Okay. If I know here it says the length is 4 more than the width. My length is equals 4 more than the width. Whatever my width is plus 4. So I can take this, substitute it for my L, and take my 95 and substitute it for my P. So this would be 95 equals 2 times my length, which was the order pair, this expression right here, W plus 4 plus 2W. And so we're just distributing, solving for the W, which is your width, then plug it back in to find the length. All right, so you have the remainder of the class period to work on the review, finish the review. When it's done, it's in the tray. Has to be done by tomorrow. Test is tomorrow.